good morning, everybody. Welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson. We created this show for you, because we wanted everyone with an invisible condition, no matter what the condition is, to know that you have a voice, you have a community, and you are not alone. And speaking of not alone, I have an amazing guest today. Her name is Michelle Steiner. And Michelle was diagnosed with dyscalculia. I don't know why that's a tongue twister for me. Dyscalculia, dyscalculia, a math-related learning disability, which when she was in kindergarten, and since then, since that time, she's been trying to figure out like alternative ways to learn and live. And in addition to not being able to do math or even drive, which I'm sure we'll get into, not being able to drive, that's not great. She is also limited by her hand dexterity and visual perception issues. Despite these challenges, Michelle is a successful para-educator in a school for students with disabilities, which is awesome. Has had articles published in the mighty Nonverbal Learning Project, Dyscalculia Blog, man, the Reluctant Spoonie, Kalopina Collective, Imagine the World as One magazine, and Word Gathering, and has had her photos featured in Word Gathering, Independent, and Work Ready. So Michelle lives in Pennsylvania with her husband and 2 cats. Good luck. I don't think I could live with 2 cats, but I whatever works, man. Somebody's got to love them, right? Welcome, Michelle. Hey, Michelle, welcome this morning. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff, for having me. I certainly appreciate it.
This is going to be so cool because I honestly, when we talked about this condition, I had no idea what to expect. I'm not. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good because we're going to learn together, and I'm going to learn with everybody out there because this is something that I am super not familiar with, but it should be great. So so you have a condition that obviously I'm not familiar with it. What is dyscalculia, and when did you first notice it for you?
Right. Well, I have dyscalculia or dyscalculia, depending on how you pronounce it. And what it is, it's a difficulty with doing a lot of math. That's my main thing is math. That's been my main struggle. I don't understand how numbers work. And a lot of other factors of my disability play in with math. It goes beyond just, okay, I'm bad at numbers. Certain things like directional concepts like east and west, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I also will mix up my right and my left. So there's a lot that goes into having a math learning disability.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Directions, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I do love living in Colorado, because especially on the Front Range of Colorado, because the mountains are always west.
Okay.
They always have. It's like, when people move here, they're like, "Oh, I don't know what direction I'm going." I just said, "Look, man, mountains are west. Put the rest together from there." But even that would be tough. You're saying that would be
right? Yeah, exactly.
That wouldn't work for you. Okay.
No, I would be like, oh, which way? And yeah, exactly. It just takes a little extra time and just like learning different ways to do that. So yeah.
So it wouldn't even be like a memory thing, like, oh, shoot, that's right, Jeff said mountains are west. It wouldn't be like you'd go out and go, oh man, I have to remember the mountains are west every time. It would be, it's more than that. It's
yes. Yeah. When you go into like just a lot of things that people will take for granted, like for a memory necessarily, I have a good memory in other areas, but anything wrong with math is really hard. I can't memorize like the facts and that sort of thing. And also another really surprising part that a lot of people aren't familiar with is I can't read the face of a clock. I can tell that there's numbers. I can see that there's handles. I'm able to see that. and I can do, like, if you give me, it's noon, if somebody and I can tell time to the hour. If I know that it's noon, I can be like, okay, I now kind of get a guess of what it is. But if you would just take me in a room where I didn't know what time it was, I couldn't do a cold read on a clock. And that is part of having the dyscalculia.
So digital clock is okay because you're reading it's like the numbers. But,
yes, I use
with the hands.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, I do my Fitbit and digital watches and a lot of modern appliances such as stoves and everything have a lot more digital, which makes it so much easier.
Yeah, no, and I almost, I was I worked at a school for a long time, and I would I kind of feel bad now because maybe the student that I was talking to, no, I don't think he did, but I was thinking maybe he had dyscalculia, but he looked at me one time and said, "What time is it?" And there was a clock right there. I was like, dude, look at the clock. Look at the clock.
Yeah.
But for you, that wouldn't work. Oh man. All right. Well, let me just throw this out there because I want to ask the audience that's out there that's watching. Has anybody else dealt with any kind of disability like this, like a learning disability, which is kind of what this is, right? This is more of a sort of, I don't know, but has anybody out there had a learning disability or something different that's that people look at you and go, well, there's nothing wrong with you. What's going on? Let me know in the chat. As we're doing the show, I'd love communicating with the audience and stuff, and just let us know and we'll chat it out. So, we're, when you were growing up and stuff, were parents and teachers, I mean, was your family supportive, or were teachers in school supportive, or were they just like blew you off?
I have been really blessed to have a wonderful family that has been supportive. My mom and dad, they never gave up on me. I've had some really good teachers, and I've had some teachers that understood I had a disability, but didn't really get a whole lot of the concepts and limited a lot of what I could do. But I was really lucky in the beginning that I had a kindergarten teacher that saw when I went into school that I was really struggling with counting, and I was struggling with things such as visual perception. And I was my parents' first child, so they didn't have a whole lot to base it on. What's going on? And they recommended that I get tested for having a learning disability, and the school was wonderful. They tested me, and sure enough, I had one. And it's really interesting at that time that I was really lucky because not everybody that had a learning disability got tested for that. Sometimes a lot of kids slip through the cracks. I mean, we had laws passed a few years prior guaranteeing that students with disabilities could have those services that they need. And another thing that's really key too is they picked up on that, and that was the key thing was doing that and getting tested. And whenever they found out I had a learning disability, it wasn't a specific one. They knew I wasn't going to be a mathematician, but learning disabilities were more umbrella terms that we used. And exactly.
Yeah. So if they can't figure it out, they just call it a learning disability and lump you in there.
Pretty much. And a lot of times I would have other students in my learning support classes. I wonder if some of them actually did have learning disabilities and it wasn't something else that they just didn't have the support for. So
Well, I tell you what, man, I've seen, everybody's seen it, the comic, the one frame comic, and it's got like the elephant and the monkey and the snake and the bird and the, whatever, the person, maybe the little boy or little girl or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, everybody climb that tree, and everybody's got to do it. It's like, well, we're kind of different.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll do the same thing. That's like the best thing. That's the best illustration I've seen of kind of what you're talking about, because everybody is unique in what they can do and what they have trouble with.
Exactly. And that's just a lot of people think when they hear learning disability, they think, well, you can't learn. And I am able to learn. I just need different ways to do that. I need different strategies. My dad has always told me, I don't think it's that you can't do math. I think they haven't found a way to teach it to you yet. And I think
I
that's,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that, yeah.
You're probably right. He's probably
Yeah.
right. I mean, there's probably a method out there for you. You just haven't found it yet. So maybe that's your mission.
is to be
I
able to
mean,
find the method. Oh my goodness.
honestly, I don't like math either.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't pick up that mission either. Like, do I really want to do more math? I don't know. I
Right.
don't
And
know.
that's been a factor in a lot of decisions that I've had to make with education or with jobs. It was one of those things. Do I want to go into something that I is going to involve a lot of math or and be frustrated, or do I want to try to find something that I like to do that doesn't have that? Because if I go, I found in my life that if I go after what I can't do, I'm more frustrated. But if I can do the things, I found that if I can do those things that I can do, I feel more empowered when I do them.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
that's true for just about everybody, but I think not everybody figures that out. So it's
Yeah.
like they go in and they go for the job that they think makes, maybe makes more money, or it's closer to
Right.
home, or it's in a city they want to live
Mhm.
in, but is it something you really want to do? That's
Yeah,
kind of important.
exactly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
No, most people don't think about that, or maybe they do, and I don't know, but that was definitely something I thought of. I was like, why would I do something that I hate? That's ridiculous.
Right.
So did you have anything with it? Like, I know dyscalculia, but would things like dyslexia or dysgraphia or anything like that kind of go with it, or is that common?
Right. You can have different types of learning disabilities. I have difficulty with my handwriting. Now, they didn't diagnose, it's part of its limited hand dexterity, which I wasn't diagnosed till I was an adult with that. We
Oh,
just thought going into when I was in school that I just had bad handwriting. And that just was part of it. Um, you know, that sort of thing. But it now we can look at that can be dysgraphia. That can be part of that too. And I think I with being with dyslexia, I don't read numbers backwards. I'm a good reader, but sometimes there's that processing where I might get confused on the directions. And another part with reading that I had, that's the reason I was in learning support reading for most of my elementary school years was I'm a good reader. I could decode the words well. I was fluent. I had struggled with reading comprehension. So we
uh,
needed to have just that little extra time to be in that class.
right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody needs a little help in school. Come on, who are we
Yeah,
kidding? But yeah,
exactly.
I get it
Agreed.
though. Yeah. Um, so speaking of school, you are actually an educator, despite what that you had gone through and what you struggle with. You are an educator. What grade? What do you teach?
Well, I'm a paraeducator, so
Okay.
I don't have a particular class. My job is to help to assist the students and the teacher. Last year, I was helping out in seventh grade. I had the opportunity to go into some regular ed history classes, and I also help out when they have some of the students when they have learning support, where they go in with
Okay.
their study hall and they have their work that they need help getting completed. And all the kids know, do not ask me for help with math. I'm not wonderful at that. But I've been really blessed to have a very understanding staff that I work with that understand what learning disabilities are. And anytime I've come up and said, okay, I have a math disability, this is what I have. I can't help out with the math, but I'm good with the reading and other things. They're like, oh, okay, well, we have enough people here that can do the math. We'll have you help them out with reading or spelling words. And
Yeah.
I think with having that, it just is really nice to be able to have that understanding and be able to make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I that's awesome. It's so nice when you have that support. And
Mhm.
I experienced that too. I've been working for the same company for about 12 years, and I swear I I I can't imagine being anywhere else, because they've seen me through so much and been
Yep.
so supportive. And yeah, I mean, every condition's a little different, so
Right.
support looks a little different. But yeah, when you find a spot like that, you stick. You know what?
Exactly.
But beyond, we got a couple minutes before we go to a break. But one last question I have for you before we do that.
Mhm.
Beyond school, how has dyscalculia impacted you as you became an adult? I mean, in school, I get it, when you're a kid and you're trying
Right.
to navigate all that, but as an adult, how does that affect you?
Right. Well, as an adult, when I decided I wanted to go to college, I had a lot of people that limited what I could do. That was one thing. And when I decided I'm going to go to school, I needed to have accommodations. That was definitely in the academic sense. But I wasn't able to drive. I'm not able to drive. So that has impacted a lot of my decisions of where I live. I need to live in a central location. And I have a wonderful support system with my husband and coworkers and other family and friends that are just wonderful. And it also has impacted everyday skills with trying to budget, trying to figure out how much I'm spending at the store, which I know is always a surprise to everyone whenever they go. They get their items total, but for me, it's really a surprise. And I also struggle, though, with things with my hand dexterity, with opening up locks and just using things in the kitchen, such as a manual can opener. I can't do that. And I found other ways to do things.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
I've got a very, very wise, person I work with in a couple business mentorship type situations.
Mhm.
And his favorite thing to say is launch and adjust. Launch and adjust.
I like that. Yeah, that's true.
Because really, that's, as somebody with an invisible condition myself, you never know what today is going to be. You don't know what a year from now is going to be. It might be very different than right now. So, if you're not adaptable, you're dead in the water. You're
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, especially working in a school. Good Lord. I mean, seventh grade too, by the way. Kudos. That's you're brave, man. For several years I've worked in a school too, and it's been a 2-year-old preschool all the way through 12th grade. And man, some of those middle schoolers, it's like I don't know where their head is. It's amazing. So working with them every day, that's amazing. So, but we are going to go to a short break.
Okay.
I know time flies, but
It
we are
does.
already at the end of the first segment. So we're gonna go to a break, and we will be right back. So we'll see you in just a minute, Michelle. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, here we go. We're gonna go. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Stick with us. We'll see you soon. We're gonna talk more about that driving thing, because that still kind of baffles me. I'm not sure how that works, but we're gonna talk about that on the other side of the break. So stick with us.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
All right, we're back. I am going to bring back Michelle here. Here we go. Thank you. Hello, Michelle.
Hi.
And so I am very curious. I have some other questions I want to ask you, but I have to. You mentioned you just kind of glossed over something I feel is kind of important because I never would have guessed in a billion years that something like a math disability or something would preclude you from driving, or is that more physical? What's going on there?
Okay. When I had a lot of what the learning disability is, it's what's going on with my brain. And it's sort of a combination of the dyscalculia and the visual perception as well. It's not in my eyes though. Whenever I was young, I can remember we knew that it was going to be a challenge with driving. I can remember being in gym class when I was younger, and every time a ball would come at me, I would blink. I also struggled with falling and my eye-hand coordination, and just basically I knew that coordinating my body was really difficult. And I can remember when I turned 16, my parents wanted me to wait before we even attempted to do driving. We knew that was going to be a smart idea. So we waited a year, didn't do very much. And then a couple of years, some time passed, and we thought, okay, let's try to see if this is a possibility. And I can remember I lived out in the country and we had this big field, and my job was to mow the field. And instead of making these beautiful, perfect lines, I ended up making circles. So I love to joke around that I now know where crop circles come from because I created them all those years ago in our field. And then my parents decided, okay, well, let's see how you do with driving up the driveway. We had a long driveway. And I get in the car, and thank God my mom was with me because we would have rammed the car into our driveway. And by that point, we thought, okay, it's time to see what's going on. So I was involved with an agency called Office for Vocational Rehabilitation, and they are great for they paid for college. I was able to graduate debt free. They pay for all the testing. They ensured that you get accommodations when you go to school. And one of the things that they paid for at that time was at a rehab hospital to give me a driver's license evaluation, just to see if driving was going to be a possibility. And I can remember going in there, and I passed everything except for the visual perception part. I knew what to do if the car would break down on the highway. My vision was normal. Just that perception part, though, they didn't recommend me getting my license. And it was just like 100 pounds was lifted off my shoulders because I worried about hurting somebody else, along with myself, of course. But that was just something that I really was, concerned about.
Well, sure. And that's good that you were concerned about that. That's we all appreciate that. We don't, those of us on the road, appreciate that you recognize that because, let's be honest, there's probably people out there that probably shouldn't be on the road anyway. And,
exactly.
For other reasons, you know what I'm saying? So,
right.
It's crazy enough out there. So that is interesting. I'm finding myself relating to you in that way because I tell you what, because of my condition, which is hydrocephalus, which is totally different than yours.
Yes.
But it's similar in the sense that it affected my eyes, and I've had 2 eye surgeries. One when I was about 2, and one when I was about 10. Yeah. And after those surgeries, my eyes do not work together. I cannot use them together. I'm looking at you right now with this eye, which I can still see, but it's not focused on anything, and then I can
Right.
switch. Now I can look at you with this eye and this one's over here somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I've adapted, right? Launch and adjust, right?
Right, exactly.
So I've adapted very well to that, and these glasses have prism in them and we got all kinds of fun stuff. I've seen a neuro-ophthalmologist and,
Yeah.
and all the fun things, but I kind of wonder if that's in my future, like, down the road, like if that's going to be a thing. Cause I tell you what, my eyes get so tired driving. It's just ridiculous. So I'm kind of wondering, like, I feel like I need to go to the eye doctor again soon anyway. Maybe I should.
Well, it might be worth it to ask. Yeah, because I think we know a lot more than it's just going in and saying, okay, you have healthy eyes and or you need glasses. And now we kind of are getting an idea that, there's a little more to visual perception than just what we see.
Well, and you can have 20/20 vision and still have a visual perception thing.
Yes, exactly. That is me. Yeah, I mean,
it's not a matter of whether you can see.
It's a matter of what's going on in the brain, and exactly. And it's just and then there's certain other parts that go on with having that too, confusing my right from my left. That's something. If I have that confusion, I'll hold out my hands that I can do. But I certainly can't do that while I'm driving. And sometimes the reaction time too, if somebody, that's in my brain, of course, not in my eyes. So if somebody comes at me, or I might have to stop for a reason, I don't have a guarantee that I will be able to do that safely.
Well, and that's probably the biggest thing is because it's a brain thing. And same thing with mine. Mine it's with prism in the lenses of glasses. I don't know. A lot of people think it's to help you see better. No, it's to help your eyes and your brain jive together. It's like to for your brain and your eyes to remember where you are in the universe.
Yeah, exactly. So, there are things that.
Yeah, it's more of a brain thing than an eye thing. So I totally get that. I'm learning more about that every day because it's crazy. Have you noticed as you've gotten older that it's gotten worse or not really a big deal?
It's not a big deal. I've learned how to adapt to a lot of things. And I think that's the big thing too, that we learned, okay, that's why this happens. And we just kind of have learned how to adapt. And I think a lot of times too, doing stuff like group fitness classes, that doesn't change the disability, but it gives me that chance to know, okay, if I'm going to be out, I learned how to catch myself before I can fall. And that helps a lot too. Or it, improves that. And I don't have a ball coming at me, so I'm not flinching and I'm able to participate and do it. And it's not in a competitive environment. So everybody's there just helping out themselves. And I love that. And I think that helps a lot too, just with perception and eye-hand coordination.
Well, and I'm guessing that this helps you relate to some students too. I mean, you probably have students that appreciate that get that, that are probably struggling with something similar. Have you run across that in your students?
I have run across a lot of students that some have had a math disability and some have had more reading or just another type of disability. And it's always an interesting response. I can remember when I worked in an elementary school, I was trying to help a first grade class with their math. And I, of course, could not get it. I made a mistake and the kids are like, oh, you made a mistake. And I'm like, it's okay. Things happen. And then I can remember I was helping a little girl. And this, I was really struggling with it. And I got the wrong answer. And I said, she asked why. She couldn't understand why. And I told her, oh, I'm just not that great with numbers and with math. And she goes, there's grown-up school for that. And I just had to laugh because they weren't trying to hurt anybody's feelings. They honestly just didn't understand it. So I think that was a nice a way to do that. But when I started working with students in middle school, that's when having that connection with somebody else was really important. I had a student that asked me for help with math, and I of course had to say, "Oh no, I can't do that." And there was a girl somebody asked me, why can't you do math? And I just said, oh, God didn't give me that ability. And one of the students, I had a girl in the class that said, me too. And seeing that really shows that somebody that is an adult has things that they struggle with, has limitations, has things that they can do. And just to have that, I think, is so important to have disability representation. Because I can remember when I was in school, I didn't know a lot of people who had a math disability. Most of my peers in learning support, they struggled with reading. They struggled a lot of times with behavior issues. So it was really hard to find another person that I related to. And everybody just always said, oh, you must have dyslexia, or you must not be able to read. And that just wasn't the case for me.
Yeah, no, and I get it. Like, people that aren't tuned into that realm, I get it. There's certain things people understand, and if they don't understand it, they either, like, they talk when they shouldn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they talk because they can't stand the uncomfortable silence when you say something like that, and so they'll say something and it comes out wrong, and then and where they really should just
right.
I mean, honestly, but I've run that class across that too. People that don't understand, but it's hard because I mean, we run across stuff we don't understand too. You see somebody with a very visible disability maybe on the street somewhere, and you're like, oh man, you just don't know what to say except, what can I do to help, or something. It's like, it's hard to know what to say.
And sometimes that is hard. I know that a lot of times I have that where I can choose my audience a little easier, where I can tell someone, oh, I have a disability. And I know people that have physical disabilities, and they can't hide that. And I think the thing is, I try to treat them the same way that I'd like to be treated, with just treating them like they're another person. And if somebody does need help, definitely do that, but to also go up and just be, and to be kind. And I kind of run into the opposite problem with people not being able to see my disability. I'll have a lot of people that'll say, oh, you don't look disabled. And I have to tell them, well, some disabilities we can see and some we can't. And then I've even had people that couldn't believe it. If I tell them, oh, I have a bachelor's degree, or I have been a published author, or any other accomplishment, and people will say to me, well, how can you do that? You said you had a learning disability. And I've had to explain that to people that also have known me and know some of the struggles I've had and some of the success. Sometimes they'll say, oh, you've overcome your disability. And I have to say, well, I've had success, but I haven't really overcome. I still have a disability.
I've run into that. I ran into that this last school year so much. Yeah. Because I had my last brain surgery was in October of 2021. And so they said, oh, so all these people saw me back at work and said, oh, so you're good now. I said, well, yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, the brain surgery kept me alive, and so that's good. But I didn't just magically wake up without this condition now. It's a lifelong thing. It's not, this is maintenance for me, which is right. It's not something you get rid of. If you, just because you have a bachelor's degree doesn't mean you overcame it and got rid of it and it's in your past. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you have multiple articles and photos and all kinds of stuff published, which is impressive, by the way. Kudos to you on that. Obviously you're creative in that way. I mean, what's your favorite creative outlet for that kind of stuff?
Writing has always been my favorite creative outlet. I've always loved to write from the time I was really small. I can remember my dad, I wrote a story about a dinosaur when I was little, and my dad saw it and he said, this is really good. And throughout all those things that I had with going to school and being frustrated with learning and struggling, just not thinking I was smart, I was like, wow, this is something I'm good at. And that really encouraged me to keep on writing. And from that point, and I can remember sharing my story was a little difficult with some of the bullying and rejection that I had when I was younger with having one in our school. But I can remember I was in a writing group and one of my friends told me, you should really write about having a learning disability. And I said, oh, no, that's too personal. I don't want to do that. And I think I wrote some bad poetry and some other really cringeworthy stuff in those early years. And I can remember when I finally took that advice of my dear friend, and I wrote about my struggle with limited hand dexterity and opening up locks. And I got that, and I had it published. It was one of the most healing things I ever did. And I can remember just not having people run away, but having people that were running towards me like, oh, I have a learning disability, or I know someone that struggles with that. And I thought that I was the only one who had that. And what that did is that encouraged me to write other articles and to start my own blog.
Nice. I mean, that is huge because when you're comfortable enough to, or not comfortable maybe, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And you push it out there, and then you get that response. That is so healing, isn't it? It's very validating and very healing. And how did that, I mean, that must have made you feel amazing.
It certainly did. I mean, it made me feel wonderful. And I thought, well, maybe there is a purpose for my story and for sharing it, because a lot of times, if I look back at my past, whenever I had people that were limiting me and I would limit myself, I was not very positive. I was pretty negative. And I thought, if I could change and be able to feel positive and empowered, maybe I could help somebody else to be able to encourage them and to make them feel that way as well.
And that's huge. And I have a feeling that I mean, I don't know if have you ever done any like speaking or anything like that? Or
I have done some speaking. Yes, I definitely. And I love talking and sharing my story about having a disability. I
mean, that's the way to do it, man. I'm the same way. I love get me in front of any crowd, and I'll tell my story, because I want people to know that there's life beyond the condition, right? There's
exactly.
You don't have to, just because you get diagnosed with something doesn't mean it's not a death sentence.
No, definitely. There is a lot of joy that can come with that, and fulfillment with helping other people. And that's, I took a situation that I thought, oh, this will never be for my good. And it got worked out for me, not only for my own benefit, but for the benefit of others.
Exactly. I love that. And that's where it becomes bigger than yourself, which is that's the fun part. So, well, I tell you what, Michelle, this has been awesome. I am so excited to get to the next segment, but we got to do a commercial first. So we're going to do that right now.
Okay.
So we'll be right back with you. Hold on just a second.
All right.
And here we go. We're going to go to our last break, but stick with us. We're going to be talking in the last segment. We're going to talk about the best part. We're going to talk about hope. And we're going to talk about how you can connect with Michelle, because she's awesome and you're going to want to connect with her. So it's going to be fun. So check it out. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
This is Madeline Blair, the host of Unlocked, where we open possibilities for when the unexpected happens. Join me Thursdays at noon and again at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Business Network, right here on E360 TV.
All right, we are back. And I'm going to, as soon as I can find the cursor, I'm going to bring Michelle back. There we go. Talking about visual. Oh my gosh. Welcome to live TV, everybody. Hello. I could not see the cursor. I was trying to. I tell you what, maybe I do need to get my eyes checked again. I could not find that cursor to save my life. I said, it disappeared. It's gone.
Oh my goodness.
Well, before we dive into the last segment here and talk about what I really want to talk about, I just wanted to ask you are married. How long have you been married?
I have been married for 8 years.
8 years. Awesome. Okay. And how has all of this impacted your marriage? Has it impacted it, or is it just kind of another way to care for each other? I mean, how's that been handled?
It has been another way to care for each other. My husband, Ron, has always been very accepting from the beginning of our relationship when we dated. I knew that I always knew I wanted to get married. And I had people that told me, well, some people may not want you because you have a disability. And sure enough, but that was always a fear of mine. And sure enough, it did happen. I've had people that didn't want to be with me because of that. I had someone that was breaking up with me that said, I think you could drive if you wanted to. I was kind of taking you around places. And other people have just said, been very honest with just saying, well, I don't want to be with someone that has a disability. And while I appreciate their honesty, because you do have to know if this is something you're willing to go into. But it really was hard. And I can remember I prayed after one really bad relationship. And I just said, God, I'm really tired of being in these relationships that are just broken. I said, don't send me anybody until it's the right person. And sure enough, I couldn't have planned it, but I met my husband. And I can remember on our first date, obviously, he picked me up, which is pretty traditional in relationships anyways. Sure. But, I was in the car with him and I just said, I have a learning disability. And he goes, well, how does that make you feel? And he was the first person that knew that, and whoever did that. And I just thought, okay, this is definitely somebody I want to be with. In a lot of ways, it has been a learning curve for things that I can do, I think, with a relationship, because sometimes it can be hard to understand, okay, I don't get how numbers work, or I don't understand, like when we do budgeting or we do like a lot of things. And I would have to, and he's great with that too, and explaining and he was always good about the not driving, with taking me places and working around some of those things. And I just couldn't have asked God for a better husband.
That's amazing. I love that. And I was kind of thinking that's the answer I was going to get. That's part of the reason I wanted to ask you, because I wanted you to be able to brag about your husband. Because I figured if you've been married to him for 8 years, he's worth keeping around. So I just wanted to make everybody wants to brag about the awesome people in their life, right? So
exactly.
So kudos. What's his name?
His name is Ron. Yep.
What, Rod?
Ron. Yeah. Ron.
Okay.
Yeah, Ron.
Right. Well, good job, Ron. Keep up the good work. Well done. Well done. That's awesome. So I want to ask you a question. In the midst of all of this, with all the crazy, with all the confusion and everything that you've gone through over the years with all this stuff, how do you, Michelle, find hope day to day?
I find a lot of hope with I am a Christian, so I find a lot of hope with Jesus. Definitely just helping get through a lot of things in life. And once I gave a lot of things that I struggled with to him, a lot of that helped. just turn a lot of impossible situations into something really good. I think that's helpful. I think it's also good to with family and friends too, with having that support system. And another hope that I have is I find a lot of hope and inspiration through nature. I can remember I've always loved butterflies and flowers, and one of the things that unexpected things that came out of having a learning disability is I will have people say, you can bring out details in the flowers that other people miss. And I'm able to, take pictures on my walks. Or if I'm in the car with my husband, I'll say, did you see that? And I'll see a flower or something in from the passenger side. And he's like, no, I'm focused on the road. And I get a chance to go back later and take a picture of that. And that gives me a lot of hope when I see flowers and butterflies and just all the changes that they go through and the seasons. And I think that always gives me a lot of hope.
That's awesome. And, I kind of relate to the driving thing. My wife has been doing a lot more driving lately in the last year or two, because my brain just gets tired, and so I've noticed a lot more things too, because when you're driving, it's like tunnel vision. You shouldn't have tunnel vision, but you know what I mean. You're focused on the road. It's like, oh, look at that house. Nope. You want to stay on the road? Focus right on that. I'm gonna focus on the road. And so when you're a passenger, it's really cool. I've not really been able to do that till the last couple of years. It's amazing. I agree. You notice so many more things that you never would. Like, I've noticed houses in our neighborhood that I've never even looked at. You go, oh, that's a kind of a cool house.
Right.
It's been there for 40 years, but I haven't noticed it. So but yeah, it's amazing. Actually, I gotta pop this comment up here. You're gonna on the screen here. I think you might know this person, I'm guessing. So I want to do that before I'm looking at the question. So
DJ.
So yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to throw that out there because they wouldn't have put it there if they didn't want you to see it.
No, that's one of my close friends. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad they're watching. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Share it far and wide after it's available to share, which will be like about 2 seconds after we end this.
Okay, awesome.
So you can share it all over the place. But is there anything about this these challenges that you've had over the years that you're thankful for?
I am very thankful for going through a lot of the things that I did. I'm not always I haven't loved everything that has happened to me, but I love the person that it's made me to be, and I love that it's had me develop a sense of empathy and understanding. And I truly think if I wouldn't have gone through those experiences myself, I don't think I could effectively help other people that have disabilities.
Totally. Relatability is huge. If people don't think you've gone through it, they're not going to listen. So I get that. You got to go through it yourself first sometimes. Yeah, totally. So if there are parents out there right now finding out that their child's been diagnosed with something like dyscalculia, what would be the first thing you'd tell them?
I would tell the parents not to give up on their kid, because my mom and dad never gave up on me, and that made all the difference. And just to try to find different ways to advocate for them, and to help them to find ways to advocate for themselves.
Nice. Is there any, I know you're on social media, right?
Yes.
Are there any programs, social media groups, any kind of other suggestions that you might have for listeners that are struggling with similar challenges? Where would you point them?
I would point them to doing a search for, there's a lot of disability groups that I'm involved with that are wonderful, to go and find that, because there's something for everybody. And there's also ones that have general categories. I also have Michelle's Mission that is online on Facebook, but I also have my website, michellesmission.net, where people can go, and I write about the perspective of having my disability. And I also opened up a forum on my new website where people can talk about disability related topics. And this month is Disability Pride and what it means to somebody. And I also have a store where I get to sell some of my artwork as well.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, and I'm pretty sure you sent all that to us. So I think we've already got it in the notes for the show, which is awesome. So everybody go to the website and check it out because it's right on there on E360 or on Facebook or YouTube, anywhere that we're broadcasting live right now. You can check it out. And after we're done with the live broadcast, it's always there for watching beyond the live broadcast. So check it out. Go and yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason that we're here is because we want to normalize this stuff, man. It's not that crazy. There's people out there that have all kinds of stuff and it's just amazing to me how people have been able to thrive with it. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. So if there's ways that we can support each other, I'm all for it. So what would you like others around you to know about living with this disability? I mean, I'm sure your close friends already get it, but I mean,
right.
If you were wearing a sign that said, this is what you should know, what would that look like?
I would love to just tell people that, disabilities that are invisible or hidden, that they definitely exist. And to just listen to the person when they are talking about that and just to try to gain an understanding of what they have.
Yeah, understanding is huge. Mm-hmm. If they can understand it, then they can, they can get that out there. Oh, and I'm gonna put this up there too. She beat me to it. I was gonna type in that.
Thanks, DJ.
I was gonna do that. I was gonna type it in and put it up there, but Daphne beat me to it. So good job.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'm just gonna leave that up there because that's pretty awesome. So anybody, there it is, right there. There's the website. Jump on there and check it out. So we've kind of covered how people can connect with you a little bit. And this website right here is where they can find all the stuff you were just talking about, right? So
yes, they can. Yep.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you, in our last minute-ish, that you want to leave the audience with?
I just want to encourage people to know what they want and be able to find a way to do it. And that sometimes success might come not in the package that you expect, but something much better.
Right. Because you never know, right?
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. I mean, it could lead to, who knows? It could lead you to being on TV.
Yep, you never know.
Crazy. I mean, it could be anything. Or on a stage somewhere with thousands of people in front of you someday. You never know.
You never know.
So I would love that. Bring it on. I'd come watch. That'd be awesome.
I would love it.
So, all right. Well, hey, Michelle, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that we got to do this. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I thank you. This is something that I had I mean, there's so many things out there that people don't understand. And this is one that I didn't understand until you were here. So I appreciate your vulnerability and your willing to talk about it. And, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll see you. Maybe we can figure out a way to do this again sometime, but we'll touch base after the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That was awesome. She's awesome. I hope you guys connect with Michelle because come on. I mean, artwork. I've been to the website. It's good stuff. You need to go. You need to go there. All right, but now let's look at next show. Next show is going to be amazing. I have the pleasure of having Jeremy Butler, who is a pastor. He's a doctor of, I can't remember what it is, but it's Dr. Jeremy Butler. And anyone listening, have a mood disorder, like bipolar, maybe something like that, tune in, man. Tuesday, July 18th, we're going to be talking about it. Jeremy's awesome. You're going to want to hear from him. It's going to be a great show. We will see you, on Tuesday. And until then, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.